Hey guys, Caleb here with DSLR Video Shooter, and today we're talking about a 50mm F1.1 for under 160 bucks. I bought this lens quite a while ago actually, and as some of you may know by the recent buzz on YouTube, I am very late in getting this out before other people. So there's other reviews already out there, check them out. But I wanted to give you my thoughts on this 1.1 50mm and how I think it performs. Is it worth it? It is 160 bucks roughly, and you can actually pick one up for either Sony E mount or Micro Four Thirds on Amazon or eBay. I will also note there's a couple different housings available. So the one I have here has a yellow ring, and I'll have links to it in the description to eBay. But on Amazon, you can also pick up very similar lenses. So without further ado, let's talk about this lens in depth and see if it's worth it for us video shooters. This is a fully metal lens. You really feel the weight of all that glass and metal. Obviously, that f1.2 is going to require some serious glass. The rings are really smooth and easy to adjust, perfect for nailing your focus, which is crucial as we'll find out since this is such a fine lens with that f1.1. The rear ring is for your aperture and has no clicks, allowing you to smoothly change your exposure, and is really nice when you just want to make a small adjustment while recording. This lens also has several aperture blades which give you a really nice, perfectly round aperture when you make changes, and this will give you that nice round bokeh, or however you say it, because people seem to always be ticked off with my pronunciation in the comments. I also really liked how snug this fit on the camera. It didn't feel too tight, but definitely not loose at all. Also, don't worry when you mount this to your camera like I did. When I first put it on, it seemed and felt almost like a Micro Four Thirds lens. It really doesn't cover the entire face metal plate of the actual lens mount on the Sony camera, so just attach it, you'll be fine, even though it feels like it's almost too small in diameter for these cameras. So enough about the looks and the packaging, let's get on to the image quality. This is a pretty affordable lens given the specs, so it's going to not come as a surprise to many of us that it isn't the best lens in the world. That said, there's a couple of things that it does really well and I love it for. Let's start out with sharpness. At f1.1, it definitely suffers with some softness and the edges are atrocious. I did tests at f1.1, f2, 2.8, and f4, and I started to notice that there is no way to get rid of the softness in the edges. So if that's a big deal to you, this lens is not going to be a good fit for you. Some of you will remember my recent video I did on a couple C-mount lenses, and I've noticed a very similar effect with this lens. That being that the center of the image and the edges of the image seem to be on different fields. So as an example, here's me filming my computer monitor. You'll notice the center of the image is nice and sharp, but the edges are blurred. If I start to move the lens forward closer to the screen, the edges come into focus, but the center goes out of focus. So essentially, you're never going to get a perfectly all-in-focus image with this lens. It's just impossible. I filmed a little bit with the A6500 and this lens when I was downtown with my wife, and as you can see, you can completely blur out everything but what you're trying to draw your viewers' attention to when you're at f1.1. I normally don't film like this as it's kind of stupid to have just the rim of a glass or cup in focus, but it just goes to show what kind of images you can capture with this. Where this lens really shines and what I love about it is when you start to do medium to wider shots. Typically when you're at a medium to wide focal length, you really don't get a lot of shallow depth of field, that being things behind or in front of your subject being out of focus. But at f1.1 on this lens, even at a medium or wider shot, you can really draw people's attention to small details. So often I would find myself stopping down when I was close to a subject and then opening the lens up as I would back up and get a wider shot. This allowed me to have a consistent depth of field across different shots, which I really enjoyed. As an example, here are a pair of headphones just a couple inches away from the wall. Even with that close distance, we can still get some nice shallow depth of field. If I back up and show the entire desk, I can still get some decent shallow depth of field if I focus on the chair, then the desk and computer and wall go out of focus. So that is what I really love about this lens. Even with medium to wide shots, you can really begin to tell a story by pointing people's attention to a specific focus point. And that con we talked about earlier of having those blurred edges even adds more to that. So at the end of the day, this is the bokeh lover's dream lens if you're on a budget. If you pick one up, I'd recommend playing around with the different aperture settings at different focal lengths, and that's where this lens I think really shines on a budget, is being able to play with that shallow depth of field when you don't have a lot of space. So this would be a great option for YouTubers, maybe tech YouTubers or other reviewers who don't have a lot of space in their studio but still want some really nice shallow depth of field. With this lens, you can film in a tight space or even have a wider shot and have your subject close to the wall and still achieve that sexy shallow depth of field. At the end of the day, I'm really happy with this lens, and I think it's worth every penny if you're going to pick up a budget lens. It's built really well, great images, and again, under $170 is pretty impressive for just the quality, much less the cool images you can capture with this. So there you have it, the Kamlan F1.1 50mm. I think it's a really fun little lens, and it's $160. So I mean, that's not bad at all for a manual focus lens of this level or caliber. Is it going to be great for photos? Sure, you could shoot photos with it. It's maybe not going to hold up as well, but I think for video, it has some really fun things going for it. Is it the perfect lens and the only 50mm you should own? Probably not, but take all that with a grain of salt. I've enjoyed it, and you can find links to it in the description. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you'll see videos here at DSLR Video Shooter every single Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.